Guys, so I read this really interesting article from New York Times about potential 2028 Democratic candidates. And they interview Nate Silver, and he goes into depth on who he thinks can actually win. And I think it would be really interesting to see who are the front runners right now. But to be completely honest, I'm kind of just tired of Donald Trump and his administration and Trump in politics. So the front runner for the Democratic Party is obviously Gavin Newsom, and this is who Nate Silver points out. But he also says that it's probably not the best pick, and we'll get into why that is later. He thinks Democrats will win in 2028, not because they're better, but because the first incumbency has actually become a disadvantage in politics. And the party who is not in power more than likely will win the next election. He also points out that Republicans have a hard time picking a candidate outside of Trump. We have seen this. If Trump is not on the ballot, Republicans usually don't do that well. And something that we will talk about in the video that's coming after this. And two things that you need when you want to be president is you need to be recognizable, and you also need a lot of money from billionaire donors so that you can do their bidding when you're president. And that's what Gavin Newsom has. He's basically everywhere. He has a huge following, but he also has access to a lot of money. And so this is really why he's the top prospect, is because he does well in both of these areas. But the thing that might bring him down is California. He's kind of dealing with some economic issues. And this is something that a Republican candidate on the other side would probably attack. So if it's not doing well in California, how can you expect it to do well in America itself? I just feel like if they pick Gavin, Democrats are not learning their lesson from 2024 and what voters are actually saying, because he's so similar to Harris. Which brings us to our second top prospect, just behind Gavin, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Now, AOC has an amazing ability when it comes to sticking power and staying in the spotlight, and I have to give her credit, because I feel like she's the top Democrat when it comes to actually being in the news and social media continuously. The first time I heard about her was back in COVID, and she was playing Among Us with streamers. That's the first time outside of politics I heard about this politician who is playing Among Us with famous streamers. And she has continuously done this. We've seen this recently when it comes to the oligarchy tour with Bernie Sanders. Of course, that was to fight against Trump, but it was also just to keep her image in the spotlight. So technically, she's a part of the economist populist wing when it comes to like the quote unquote affordability movement that Democrats are really pushing right now. And she brings this question to the table: are we going to elect the most eligible primary candidate in Newsom, or are we going to take the party in a new direction? But the one thing I worry about her is she's a woman. And as we've seen in the past, woman president candidates do not win. Clinton didn't win against Trump, and Harris didn't win against Trump. Now, interestingly enough, the only time Trump did lose is against another male candidate. Is America really ready for a woman president? That's something that we'll just have to see. But I really do think AOC has a good potential of winning the Democratic primary and also making a presidency run. So the next contender is Pete Buttigieg. Pete is more of a moderate lib. He would resonate really well with college-educated Democrats who want to see change, but not too much change. That is really the corner that Pete would thrive in. When he ran for office in 2020, one of the main things that he ran on was Medicare for all who want it. But one of the things that might hold Pete back is he's openly gay. We don't know if America is ready for a woman president or a openly gay president. However, it would be kind of ironic if Pete was able to win the presidency before a woman did. And after Pete, we have Gretchen Whitmer. Now, she is a governor of Michigan. And one of the main reasons that, she's pretty prominent is because she won a huge swing state by a large margin. Now, we don't really know if Gretchen actually wants to run. Some Democrats believe if they want to win in 2028, they need a candidate from the Midwest. And Gretchen Whitmer would probably be the best to fill that spot. However, her only downfall is she really just isn't good at staying in the spotlight, to be honest. She kind of comes in and out. That sounded really weird. She kind of just comes and goes. One moment she'll be pretty popular, and then the next moment, nobody knows where she is. And that's not really good when it comes to a presidential candidate. Even though she has really good margins, she really just doesn't have that it factor when it comes to staying in the spotlight continuously as a presidential candidate would need. Now, after Gretchen, we get to the second tier. Frontrunners for Democrats, and my personal favorite is Ruben Gallego. This guy, I think, has the right priority when it comes to the presidency in 2028. Ruben has been able to promote more of a centrist type of position when it comes to issues like immigration, but still have his economic agenda and the progressive mindset. He's another abundance type of liberal. He's more of a moderate compared to some other candidates, and a junior senator to Mark Kelly in Arizona. But it's interesting that he's actually ranked above Kelly, but the numbers and the data show this. Gallego continuously scores high when it comes to president baseline, margin, and also SB score. The only other contender that is above him is AOC. After Ruben, we have Josh Shapiro, which he is an okay Democrat, but I honestly don't think he's really going to go anywhere. To me, he's kind of just a boring Democrat, along with Wes Moore. Wes Moore is also a boring candidate. Not to be disrespectful, but they just don't have like that energy or that X factor. I think Wes is a very good communicator and he has really good speeches from what I've seen online, but he just doesn't have what a Ruben or a AOC or a Gavin Newsom kind of have. And lastly, on this list, we have Kamala Harris. I'll say this about her. She doesn't need to run. Democrats need to move away from Kamala Harris in 2024 and kind of just put that in the rear view. And if you bring Kamala Harris back and make her the primary electorate, I don't think they're going to win in 2028. So I don't think Kamala should run. She probably will, but I don't think she should. Other notable candidates that the article mentions outside of kind of the top prospects are Cory Booker, Jon Ossoff, Mark Kelly, Jon Stewart, JB Pritzker, Andy Bashir, Ro Khanna, I don't think that's how you say his name, and Chris Murphy. Now, I'm not really going to go into these candidates because I don't think any of them really have a shot at winning the primary for the Democratic Party, but I just wanted to mention them because the article mentions that it could be a possibility. So the top prospects for Democrats are Gavin, AOC, Pete, Gretchen, and Ruben. Outside of that, I think most of those candidates probably don't really have a shot. They just really don't have that it factor when it comes to being a presidential candidate. That could change if they're able to have a huge gathering through social media. Just right now, I really don't think they have it to be the president. And honestly, with the Republicans' kind of dilemma, when Trump is not going to be on the ballot in 2028, I mean, unless he fucking somehow gets a third term with his bullshit, I think it's going to be hard for Republicans to win, no matter who the Democratic nominee is from the five that I kind of just listed. If you like this video, leave a comment, maybe subscribe. And I'm going to be talking about the Republicans and who potentially could replace Trump and who their best bet would be in 2028. But honestly, Republicans are just shit.